Cuphead is a universally celebrated masterpiece that continues to be the de facto rubber house style game and is almost always in everyone's big 3 indie games. The visuals and animation are nothing short of magnificent, consisting of jazz-era cartoon animation and incredible lighting. The actual gameplay, although difficult, is incredibly fair. A perfect player can win against any boss 100% of the time. This, along with the hours of content the game has to offer, is what cemented Cuphead as a modern classic, deserving of every ounce of attention it's garnered over the 9 years. Oh my god, it's been out for 9 years? Anyway, another thing Cuphead has been praised for is how much customization the game allows. With 9 unique weapons, 11 unique charms, and 6 ultimate moves depending on which character you play, you can always spice up your experience and challenge yourself by using combinations you otherwise wouldn't in regular gameplay. But what if this customization wasn't a liberty we could afford? What if we beat Cuphead with the default loadout? Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, this idea isn't exactly original, but it's one I've wanted to do for a while. There's only 2 rules I need to follow for this challenge. 1, I need to beat every boss up to the devil using the default loadout, no pea shooter, no charms, no super art. Cuphead is already a difficult game on its own, and restricting yourself to using the starting weapon and no other benefits is bound to make it much harder, considering how many bosses get steamrolled by other weapons. All things considered though, pea shooter isn't a bad weapon by any standard. It's a good all-rounder with average damage output and a decent EX that can make quick work of stationary bosses at the expense of being a bit hard to aim at moving enemies. Another benefit of this challenge is that I don't need to do the lame-ass run-and-gun stages since I don't need any coins, yay! The second rule, which is really just a cherry on top, is that I need to get at least an A- rank on every boss for that sweet golden pull. Pause. Now, enough yammering, let's get into the first bosses. The Root Pack is one of the 3 bosses in Isle 1 that you're able to fight right off the bat, and their entire fight revolves around using pea shooter anyway, so this is a walk in the park. A walk in the pack. Hey, come on, that's a good one. The only somewhat challenging part of this fight is hitting the carrot while not being right under him, because you either have to move where he's facing or use the C key on your keyboard to lock onto him. It's not weird that I'm using a keyboard for Cuphead, right? Well, anyway, that's one of the first bosses knocked off. Right after beating the Root Pack, you gain access to Ribby and Croaks, one of my favorite bosses conceptually. There isn't really much to say about him in this challenge though, because this is another boss that the pea shooter really excels in since Croaks never switches sides. I even beat them first that one doesn't count because my hands were soapy, sorry about that one. Jokes aside though, I beat them right after, but I got a B+, so I had to do it again, and then I got an A-, so it's all good. Cagney Carnation is another one of the first 3 bosses you can beat, and although Goopy Legrande was right there, he's a really boring boss, and I had to come back there anyway, so I figured I'd just beat Cagney and backtrack. The thing that separates Cagney from all the other Isle 1 bosses in this challenge is that he's the only one where you actually need to think instead of just putting your brain on autopilot. Right from the get-go, your pea shooter bullets aren't always going to hit Cagney every time because of the slight variation in shot height, and Cagney's hitbox is a little higher than it may seem. You can mostly alleviate this though by doing small jumps while shooting, and when he does that weird face attack, seriously, what do you even call this? You can just lock to aim in whichever direction you need to. Seriously, guys, is it weird that I'm playing on keyboard? Why are you looking at me like that? Stop it! Once he reaches phase 2, though, the fight's basically over, because pea shooter does enough damage to KO him pretty quickly in this phase, plus his hitbox increases. Stepping back a bit, Goopy's the last of the 3 bosses you can defeat from the start, but he's painfully boring. Usually the weapon I bring to this fight is either Roundabout or Spread because they both make super quick work of him, but pea shooter works just the same. His final phase is the only moderately difficult part, but if you jump high enough you can land an EX shot anyway, so it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, I had to do it again because my stupid ass didn't parry all 3 f***ing question marks. You're joking. Oh my gosh. Okay, bro. I was gonna say. Oh my gosh, that took more effort than needed to be. Hildeberg is the last boss of Isle 1, and she's a plain boss. Since she's a plain boss, we have to use the torpedo darts instead of the pea shooter. This is the intended way to fight her anyway, so we're already set. However, even though we didn't do the mausoleum fight, the nuke super art is already available to use. Because of this, we're gonna have to use our EXs before the entire meter fills up and the nuke is active. Once she's at her final phase, just lock in and win, and there is Isle 1 complete. Continuing her streak of beating on women, Baroness von Bonbon is another boss we're gonna have to think a little bit for. She can summon any combination of 5 minions in 3 waves before her final phase, and which ones we get does in fact matter, but not as much as you might think. Right off the bat, the Gumball Machine and the Candy Corn are the best ones to get, no contest. They have large hitboxes, are slow moving, and are hard to get hit on if you're paying attention. The Jawbreaker, the Muffin, and the Waffle are all equally bad since they move a lot and have small hitboxes, but I couldn't really rank any one of them harder than another. It's not run ending if you get any of them, but it does make it harder to deal damage. Once you activate her final phase, make sure you get your parry quota in if you have it with the Peppermint, and spam your EX while jumping to get her for a KO. Jimmy the Great is our second airplane boss. We're gonna skip talking to the canteen because he'll automatically make us equip the drop bombs anyway. Jimmy has 5 phases, 5 too many in my opinion, because oh my god, this fight took me longer than I want to admit. This fight suffers very little for not being able to use the bombs because Jimmy's always right in front of you, besides in the totem phase, which is the only place the bombs actually shine through. Not much else to say, simple in terms of this challenge. Let's take a break from this noise and head to the carnival. Beppy the Clown is the 3rd available Inkwell Isle II boss, and he's quite formidable in this challenge. His phases are wild and unpredictable. Not only that, but he moves around a lot until his final phase and constantly spawns minions, so Pea-Shooter's very outclassed in this fight by the likes of Roundabout, Spread, shocker, and Converge surprisingly because of its Pierce. After only a few tries, I was able to get a KO. After a few tries, I was able to get a KO. Okay, it's inevitable. Grim Matchstick, infamous for being a progression wall for new players, is our 4th boss, and when you get to him, you can tell he's not designed with this challenge in mind. He's the first boss to have scrolling platforms that you need to constantly reposition yourself on, and it can be really annoying because it's RNG where and when they will spawn. Another annoying thing is that his laser eye attacks are the only parryable objects of this entire stage, so if you get unlucky and he only shoots 2 and you get hit too much, there goes your A rank, get better at the game. Once you manage to get through the cacophony of RNG that is his first phase, now you get even more of it. These little fire feeds will run on his tongue, and each one has a chance to launch themselves at you in an arc. It can be hard to tell where exactly they're aiming, and if you don't know, there goes your A rank, get better at the game. Whenever they start their animation, they'll log your current position and then aim for that, so if you jump and dash away, you'll be able to dodge it. I would save your cards here instead of spamming your EX. Eventually, you'll do enough damage to enter his 3rd phase where you trade your RNG for skill. He'll shoot out fireballs in an alternating pattern from high to low, and if you shoot any one of them, they'll split into 4 more fireballs that travel in the cardinal directions. Once this happens for a bit, he'll sneeze at the flamethrower head and block access to the lower ranks. This is okay though, since you can duck on the upper platforms and still hit him a little bit with the Pea-Shooter. Overall, he gave me a lot of trouble, but I ended up beating it in like half an hour anyway. Definitely our hardest boss yet. You know how I literally just said Grim was the hardest boss so far? Throw that out the window because I'm not even sure getting an A+ is possible on Wally Warbles. Wally is the last of the Isle II bosses, and he's another airplane boss. His last phase is fundamentally designed around the drop bombs, which are a no-go for this challenge. It's because of this that I beat him in over a minute longer than necessary and ended up getting only a B rank. Although Grim was a more mechanically challenging boss fight for this challenge, Wally has shorter windows of opportunity to deal efficient damage with the torpedo darts. His 1st and 2nd phases require you to move away from his line of sight of his hitbox, his 3rd phase can make you literally unable to hit him, and his final phase can redirect damage to a smaller hitbox every so often. If I had to beat this boss slowly, then I had to beat it perfectly slowly. Please. Okay, well I didn't get an A+, but I'll take it. Hey, post-editing Dyson here. It actually is possible to get an A+, and by extension, an S rank.
There you go, man. Fucking RNG and fucking RNG. Plus 22 seconds, playing perfect. Great fucking reward, man.
I don't know why I didn't do further research about this fight, and just assumed that it wasn't possible to do, but hey, it's possible. Say, boss, what are you thinking about this here challenge so far? Quite an interesting idea if I do say so myself. Sure, it's a clever little party trick, but I want to see more out of this guy. Well, you could always give the man a subscription. That way you would never miss a post from him. Well, is that so? Might as well like the video and comment too. I hear that stuff really pushes videos on the algorithm. When I first started this challenge, I expected Captain Brineybeard to be one of the easier Isle 3 bosses. And he was. Brineybeard is the first boss of Isle 3. If you thought there was another, you're wrong. If you can't parry, you're going to be dealing next to no damage. It takes a bit of focus to get every parry from the octopus, but when you do, you can use the height to shoot your EX shots right at him. Once you manage to chip Brineybeard down, you can duck between these two posts on the dike to always avoid the fireballs the ship spits. If the barrel's about to fall, you can dash while ducking to avoid it, which is something I had no idea you can do until I recorded this fight. Don't try to ore farm and parry the beam a bajillion times if you're on low health like I did. Like, who are you trying to impress, bro? Calamaria is a bad bitch, but she's also free as hell. Out of every planned fight, besides Hildeberg, she suffers the least from not being able to use the drop bombs. Just parry the shit out of everything, spam your EXs, and when she's on her last phase and she freezes you in front of one of those little spiky post things, there goes your A rank, get better at the game. Once you beat Calamaria, you can then beat your meat to Calamaria. You earned it. Sally stage play. As you recall, Wally Warbles was the hardest for us to A-rank so far, but that changes with Sally. This fight is often praised for how well telegraphed her attacks are, but this stage was not meant to be fought with Pea Shooter, at all. She constantly moves around, you need to be on the run basically every second of the fight, she's packing away more mice than Mountain Dew, and she's hard to hit in her final phase. The third phase is free, but her final phase is incredibly hard to aim at. Not only do you need to be moving around the screen, but you also need to dodge the roses while they're falling from the sky and while they're on the ground while aiming at her. Thankfully, this phase has a low amount of health. You wanna know how many times I got a B rank? Not twice, not 4 times, not 5 times, but it was 3 times. I got a B rank 3 times. Werner Vermin is a nice change of pace, not to mention how he's also my favorite Cuphead boss. This fight is very simple with Pea Shooter since Vermin has an enormous hitbox and rarely has you aim away from him. The only somewhat difficult part of this fight is not satisfying the parry quota. It's actually very likely that you deal too much damage to even get a single parry in. Thankfully, I beat him on the second try and got an A-. What an amazing fight. The next contender on my hit list is this dumb f***ing robot. The only reason why this boss is hard is because it's hard in the vanilla game. This challenge changes next to nothing about this fight. Obviously, you can't abuse invincibility frames using your super, and you can't use the drop bombs, but the drop bombs are only useful in the second phase anyway. Deja vu. But anyway, given enough time, everything will almost certainly happen, so that's another boss steamrolled. Phantom Express is the final boss of Inkwell Isle III. Yep, Isle 3 only has 6 bosses. You must just be misremembering things. Anyways, this boss is pretty easy. A little difficult around the third phase because of the ghosts. You see, we're on a platform during this fight, and when you shoot these little clan members, they drop their cutesy pink skulls, which can move your cart forward or backwards along the rail. You can dodge the beams the ghouls summon by jumping and dashing at the side, then shooting the ghosts and parrying their skulls to boost up and hit an EX shot. The final phase is free, just watch out for the bones. 5. Now that we have all the soul contracts, we can move on to... Okay, it's time I address the allegations. Take a deep breath for this one. Inkwell Isle III doesn't have 6 bosses. It has 7. I know, I lied to you all. Rumor Honeybottoms is far and away the hardest boss in this challenge. Like, it's not even close. For starters, welcome back RNG platforms. This time they're vertical instead of horizontal. That's just a little bit too far. There goes your A rank, get better at the game. Her first phase is completely free, but don't let your guard drop. Her second phase is just hard in general, but the only difference here being that's a bit harder to aim at her when she's at the center. But none of these come close to the difficulty of her final phase. Spam your EX when she's flipping through the spellbook pages, because you want to start this phase with as much of an advantage as possible. I really don't know what about this phase is so difficult for me to understand. None of her attacks are all that threatening and are very well telegraphed. My guess is just sensory overload. You need to plan which platform you're jumping at, notice what side she's doing the saw attack at, where are the fist bombs, did you jump high enough to reach the platform? Is there even a platform there? How close are you to Rumor? A lot of my stupid hits from this phase came from the mechanic that lets you fall through the platforms. You can aim down while shooting and jumping, but while holding down and jumping on a platform, you fall through it. See the problem? It took me 8 separate recordings for this one boss over the span of like 2.5 hours, but eventually, I had the run. Oh my god, I did it! Oh my god, if I didn't get the fucking paraquota, I'm going to myself. I'm going to myself if I didn't get the paraquota. Oh my god, I got the time quota! It doesn't even matter! Oh my fucking god, it's over! Grim Matchstick, Dr. Cal's robot, Sally, stage play, Baroness von Bon, Hilda Berg, Rumor, Honey Bottoms, Cagney, Carnation, and the Root Pack, Goofy LeGrand, Jimmy the Great, Beppy the Clown, Rivian Croaks, the Phantom Express, Ella Morena, the default loadout, Wally Werbles, Werner Vermin, Captain Briny Beard. You signed a contract. King Dice, the Tuxedo Man himself, the origin of...
Sprinkle, sprinkle, Mr. Car?
Anyway, we need to choose which of his minions make the final phase the easiest and most consistent to fight. Right away, we can knock off the Tipsy Trio, Piruletta, and Mr. Chimes. It's not like they're made hard by this challenge or anything, I just don't really like them. Hocus Pocus can be made much easier by using Smoke Bomb, and since we can't, we're gonna try to avoid him. Chips Bedigan is another boss that's made harder, considering we have to aim and dash a lot. Finally, Pip and Dot are very easy, but Fear Lap allows us to get significantly more charge on our super meter because the torpedo darts deal more damage at the pea shooter, allowing us to spam our EX during the final phase. This makes our boss lineup Mr. Wheezy, Fear Lap, and Mangosteen. Why is his name Mangosteen? If you have trouble hitting the die without the pea sugar, don't worry, I do too. Simply stand in front of the die and double-click jump once the die lands in the number you want, and you'll probably get it. This works with like 90% accuracy. Once the final phase rolls around, spam your EX upwards and parry the cards as they come. Like the intended way of fighting this boss. And that's the king down. As much as I wanted the devil to be a super huge challenge, considering he's the final boss and everything, pea shooter's actually a really good weapon for this fight because his hitboxes stay stationary for the whole fight. Besides, you already knew that Rumor was harder, so this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Trust me though, I'll find a way to make this fight harder eventually. Instead, I'll show you the full fight while giving you my afterthought. Although some parts of this challenge were incredibly annoying and very unbalanced, I still had a really good time playing. Cuphead's just one of those games where it's hard to not enjoy whatever it is you're doing. Having said that though, there were times I wasn't having fun, like Sally or Rumor for example. Nobody was forcing me to do this challenge, so all things considered, I could have cheated the run. But I didn't. What was the point of doing every boss besides 2 with some stupid challenge? I knew that all of it would be possible. I've seen it done before. People have done an even harder version of this challenge where you're locked in on expert mode and need to get all S ranks. So yeah, I could have cheated. But then what? Pretend like I'm on par with people who are objectively better at the game than I? Besides, it's not like I'm doing YouTube full time, so what would I even gain from that? Getting into more semantics, I have the Delicious Last Course installed. So if I wanted to bend the rules a little, I could have considered the Astral Cookie to be an exception to this challenge, since technically it's involved in Miss Chalice's default loadout. I ultimately ended up deciding against it, and I think it was for the better, although it would have made some parts of this challenge particularly easier. It's really that mentality that pushed me along in this challenge. In today's climate, it's important to be honest and to be accurate, especially with the advancements of generative AI content surfacing around social media and the news. Generally speaking though, I don't think this challenge made me all that much better at Cuphead. Definitely better with the pea shooter and parrying, but other than that, my skill remains average. Although I have the DLC installed, I'm not going to be doing this challenge for Inkwell Isle IV, as I don't think I have the patience or the time to do so. The jump from Isle 3 to Isle 4 is very significant, and I don't think I'd enjoy it all that much. Not nearly as much as the vanilla game, at least. For specifics, I ended this run with 66% completion and spent a total of 12 days recording footage. Well, that's all I have for this video. Enjoy the rest of the fight. I was Dyson, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, see ya! Sweet. I'm just big and I don't have to do this shit again. I don't. Let's fucking go. That's Cuphead, default loadout, A- rank or higher, complete.